Hello everyone, welcome to our channel and that is Double Click Academy, your ultimate online lesson. Today, you realize basically we shall be looking at one of the most interesting parts and that is basically for academicians and we shall be looking at that is how to answer Microsoft Excel examination question paper. You realize in most cases we tend to have exams, more especially if you're a student. This is one of the best tutorials you can ever watch because it will help you to answer that is Excel question papers, past papers. So, but before we continue, please make sure that you click and subscribe to our channel so that you'll be in position to always watch our previous videos and anything that you feel like you'll be always positioned to get it from Double Click Academy. So we can now go straight away to our question, and that is Excel question. And how are we going to handle the Excel question? So here now you realize we have our question here and it's basically an illustration on Excel. So it's basically like a shop kind of illustration whereby you have some of the stationery there or basically the products that you sell in your shop, just like the way they have already given us that below is a list of different products sold in a shop and they are categorized into different groups as summarized below. So you realize we have our table here which basically has the summary of the products that we deal in. And you realize that here we have a column of product name, we have category, and then we have the cost. So we realize we also have additional information here that is the shop owner intends to earn a profit from each product sold. The profit margin is 10% of the product cost for all items. Then also realize this business or this shop also pays a VAT of 18% on the cost price items. Then also we are given the selling price, which is the cost price plus profit plus VAT. Then all these other questions will follow. So you realize this is one of the formats of exams, assuming you're a student, like we said it earlier on. So you realize basically this is one of the best tutorials you can watch so that you'll be in position to know how to attempt your exams, assuming you're preparing for exams. This is one of the formats of exams. So you realize from here, we basically have so many questions, but in most cases, they tend to tell you what you're supposed, where you're supposed to save the work from, and what the file is supposed to be called. And sometimes it will be one of the first things, and also sometimes it will be one of the last. Now, when you look at the O part of our question, they are telling us to save the work in a folder named DBS Match Intake and the file name as presentation. So you realize that is more or less, assuming you're a student, like we said, this is like a blank answer sheet that you're given out to save your work. So it means DBS Match Intake will be our blank sheet, and then the question we are attempting is presentation. So that is basically what we are going to be starting with. So we shall start, that is how to create our own folder, and then how are we going to save that file into that folder that we have created. And remember, we are dealing with Excel. So what we are going to do, we shall first of all close this, then we go to our desktop whereby we shall be in position to create our folder. We are interested in creating a folder. So we shall minimize the question and then we get back to our folder, I mean our desktop. So this is a desktop and we want to create a folder that is called DBS Match Intake. So we know what to do. We shall always right click, like if you don't remember it very well, please go back and watch one of our subsequent previous videos so that you'll be in position to see how we are basically creating our folder. And we are saying this folder name will be called DBS Match Intake. That is the folder name, Match Intake. So it means we have already done what part of what O tells us, that is creating a folder, which is this. Then now we shall now go to our Excel. We have so many ways of opening an Excel sheet. The first way is for you to come and click on the Excel from here, or we can just come and search the word Excel. We search for the word Excel, of which now here is our Excel app. We click on the Excel, and then Excel will be now opening. Now there it is opening our Excel. So this is the Excel. Then we remember in the previous videos, we also said we go for blank workbook, which is this. So So you realize here is minimized. We can maximize it so that it can occupy the whole screen. So here is it. Then we are told that we are supposed to save it as presentation. So from here it still shows it as book one Excel, but that's not what we're interested in saving it as. We're interested in saving it as presentation. So we shall come to the save icon here, which will take us there, and we know that our folder is in a desktop. So we shall come and search for it under browse, and then we shall come to desktop here. From desktop, we shall now look for, that is the folder we just created, which is DBS Machine Tech. We shall double click on this, and then here now it shows the direction is this PC, desktop, DBS Machine Tech. So there we are. Then now we come to the file name. The file name they have told us, the file name will be presentations. Presentations there. So that is our file name, and then we click on save. So you realize now the name changes from book one to presentations. So there we are. Then we shall now go back to our question and see what is the question basically telling us to do. So we are done with the part O. Depending on the number of marks you're given, it means you've already passed that, and we have gotten our marks for that case. So we now go to the additional information and understand what basically do they need us to do. Of course, uh, when you look at the part A, you have already seen what the additional information here is telling us, but part A tells us to enter the above information is in MS Excel, which is Microsoft Excel. So we shall now get back to our Microsoft Excel and enter this table, because this is the table basically we're interested in entering in our Microsoft Excel. So we shall now get back to our Excel sheet. We can maybe tend to also shape it like that so that we shall be in position to always have those screens at a go to avoid just reopening, opening, closing, and the rest. So here we are. So we now look at this. So you realize this one, they have told us to do exactly what they have told us to copy it in our Excel. So we shall now do that in our Excel, copying that table or trying to get everything from the table, and then we proceed with the subsequent questions. So you realize basically now we are done with our table. Our table now is in our Excel. So we can also do the same thing that is appearing in Word. You realize from here they have bolded the title, the columns, headings, and then the rest they have left it the very way they are. So that's basically what we're also going to do. Maybe we can again maximize this, and then we bold this. Of course, we highlight like the way we learned in the previous lecture of Excel. So we highlight that, then we come to bold. Bold is there. So you realize we also now have the same makeup from our one. Then we shall also look at what else is in this one. So basically that. So we can now come to this. From here, we are told that the shop owner intends to earn a profit from each product sold. The profit margin is 10%. So that is the profit margin of the product cost for all items. Then the VAT is 18% on the cost price. We have the cost price here, and the selling price will be the cost price which is given here plus the profit that we are meant to compute plus now then we have the VAT. So that is now what will give us the selling price. So we are done with the A. Then now we go to B, which they are telling us to use an appropriate formula to calculate the selling price and the profit. So from here you realize we are supposed to calculate the selling, the profit margin, the profit. Then afterwards we also supposed to calculate the VAT, and of which all that now will make us to compute for the selling price. So that's what we are going to be doing. So we shall now go straight away to compute the profit, because we are given the profit margin of 10%. So we shall get back to our Excel, and then we shall now create a column. We shall create a column of profit. The title will be profit. That is the title. And of course, they have told us is 10%. So that is 10% from the cost price. So that will be our profit. Because when you look at the question, they are telling us that the profit margin is 10% of the product cost for all items. So we know the cost. So now It's now a matter of us putting our formula there, and then we shall be in position to get the profit for each item here. So how do we get the profit? The profit, they already told us that is 10%. So we shall now come down to under flour, that row of flour. We want to compute the profit for flour. So a profit for flour, we shall of course put the equal sign there. Remember, the equal sign comes first, then we now put the 10%. Of course, you can put 10%, or you can go a long way by saying 10 divided by 100, close the brackets, and then multiply by the cost, that which is long. But in other words, we can also just put 10%. Then we now look for our multiplication sign times this. We shall now click on where the 20, which is C2. Then we shall press enter key, and now there we have gotten the 10%. Then now we can scroll down for all of them. Now there we are. We have gotten the profit for each item. This is the profit for each item. Then we shall get back to our question, which tells us to compute the VAT. The VAT is 18%, because we can't go to selling price before getting the VAT. So we shall first compute the VAT, which is 18%. We shall still create another column there, column title, which is VAT, and of which we are saying it is 18%. That is the VAT. So they are telling us the VAT is 18% of the cost price of each item. So we shall now get back to our Excel and do the same thing. We shall of course put our equal sign, then we are putting there 18%. Of course, percent, depending on your keyboard, it's shift and then where there is 5, depends. Mine is 5. Provided you see the percentage sign, you press shift. Don't leave shift and then go and look for percent and press percent. You'll be in position to see that. Then we now look for the multiplication sign, which is a star in our keyboard. So we do the same thing. Mine is my star is on top of 8, so I will press shift and then press star, and then I will click on the cost price. And then after clicking on the cost price, you press enter, and there we are. We have gotten the 18% of flour, and then we shall get the 18% for each. Now that is our VAT for each item. We have computed that successfully. Then now the question in B tells us to use appropriate formula to calculate the selling price and profit. So we are done with the profit. We now go for the selling price, of which the selling price, they are telling us that the selling price is the cost price, which we already have, which is this, plus profit, which we have computed the 10%, plus VAT, which is the 18%. So that's how we are going to get the selling price. So we shall get back to our Excel and call this now the selling price. Then we can maximize the cell. That is the selling price. So the selling price, they are telling us, is the cost price plus the profit plus the VAT. So we are basically going to do that. We of course put our equal sign. Then if you're interested in using sum, you can use sum. If you're interested in using plus, you can do the same. So assuming I am interested in sum, I put equal sign, then sum, which is SUM. Then open the bracket, and then I can now get for all this up to the VAT. Then I'll close the bracket and I press enter. Now that will be the selling price for flour. So we shall now get for all by just dragging it, and there we are. So we have gotten the selling prices for each of the items we have in our table or in our shop. So that is that. But of course, you keep on saving if it's an exam, like we said, because if you're in exams, maybe you're using a computer that is not yours and that only survives on power by only that time. So we keep on saving to avoid inconveniences of in case power goes and your work will get lost from wherever you last saved it from. So that is that. So then now we are done with the B part. Then we shall now come to C part. Under C part, they are telling us to insert a suitable heading of your choice with the font type Arial and size 17. So they are telling us to insert a suitable heading of your choice. Here, you realize there is a difference between a heading and a header. A heading for this case is the title of these items. So we are going to insert a title for this, and from this we can get a title from our first statement, that is which tells us that below is a list of different products sold in a shop and they are categorized into different groups as summarized below. So you might just get your title from this. Maybe we can say different products sold in a shop, could be that. Or we can say different products sold in a shop as per their categories. Any can work. So we can now get back to our Excel, and then we know that our heading is supposed to be on top of this row. That is where the heading is, but we don't have any other row. This becomes the first row. So it means we have to now create another row that is on top of the product titles. So that's what we are going to do. So we shall now click on this. We can highlight it in whichever way. Maybe you can bring the cursor somewhere there, then we press. When you click, it makes sure that it will highlight the whole row for that case. Or you can just only highlight what you have here, and then after that we can bring the cursor back to the highlighted area, and then we right click, and then we come to insert. We want to insert now a row on top of this first row. Then we click. Now there you have the row, a new row that has been created. Then now we know that the title in most cases will flow from the beginning up to maybe the end of the text. So that's what we're also going to do. So before we can do that, maybe we can merge the cells. We want to merge this cell A1, B1, C1, D1, E1 up to F1. We want to merge them so that they will appear like it's only one cell, not having different cells or demarcations in the middle. So how do we merge the cell? So we are going to highlight up to where we want it to end the merging from, like that. Then after that, we come to home. Home is already by default. Then we come to merge and center. Here there are options. We shall click on the drop down. Then we choose which kind of merging do we want. Do we want to merge and center? Merge and center means you merge the cells and then the text will be converged at the center. Then merge across there doesn't mean. So we may be assuming we're interested in merge and center. We want the text to be concentrated in the middle. We can click on merge and center. Now when you look at this, you realize now the text, the row has only one cell, not like the demarcations we had previously. Then now from there we can give our work the title. Now for this case, we want to give it that different products sold in a shop. That is the title we want. So we shall now type here, that is different products sold in the shop or at the shop, whichever English you're putting there, in the shop. So that is that. Then we can click anywhere. So that is that. So of course, maybe you also know that your title, you need to bold it. You should be having maybe a different design, whichever way you want. But of course, we are told from here what to do. So here they are telling us insert a suitable heading of your choice with the font type Arial and font size 17. So we know that the font type is Arial. So now we shall come back and click on this. Then we come to font type area, which is here. We shall click on that. Then we look for Arial. If you're not seeing Arial, we can just type from here Arial. So Arial will be there. Then you shall click on Arial. Then now we come to the font size. They are telling us the font size will be 17. You realize we don't have 17 here, so we shall just type 17 from here, 17. Then we press enter. Now you realize that has changed the composition of our heading. Now it shows different products sold in the shop. So you realize that is that. We are done with that section as well. We have done everything. We have given the heading. We have given the font type, which is Arial, and then the font size, which is 17. Then we shall now go to our D part. Our D part will be to sort the list in ascending order of category. So we are sorting the list in ascending order, but we are basically interested in sorting the category section, which is this section of category. So we shall now go to our Excel, and we are interested in sorting this category in ascending. So ascending means if it's a alphabet, it means A, B, C. A becomes first, and so on. Z becomes the last. If it's a numbers, the numbers would be 1, 2, 3. 1 becomes number 1, and then the other one, the last number becomes the last, of course. So we want to sort it according to category. Now, when we are sorting, we don't highlight from the column name or column title. We start from the products themselves, the category. So it means we shall start from grocery, and then we highlight it up to electronics, which is the last. Now we were interested in sorting. Then we shall, after doing that, we shall now come, still all this is under home. We shall now come to sort and filter here. So we shall click on sort and filter. Then now we choose from here which kind of sorting are we doing. Are we sorting in ascending or descending? So we are sorting in ascending. So it means we are starting with A to Z. That's what we are going to be doing. So we shall click on sort A to Z. Then it will bring this warning. It will bring sort warning here. They are telling us that Microsoft Excel found data next to your selection. Since you have not selected this data, it will not be sorted. What do they mean? What do you want to do? Expand the selection, continue with the current selection. What this statement tells us is that we have only highlighted the category section or column, but also Excel has found out that we also have data from the product name. There is data, the cost has data, profit has data, VAT, selling, all of them have data. Now what do we do? From here they are telling us expand the selection. Expand the selection means we allow Excel to expand this selection other than grocery, category. We all expand so that when we are talking about grocery, the product name will be flour, the cost will be 20, so that everything here moves with their respective details. That's what it means. Then continue with the current selection means we only sort this, but all these ones will remain the same way they are, which doesn't make any sense, doesn't make any meaning. But for your data to make still meaning out of it, we shall allow expand the selection. So that grocery moves with the 20, all these details will move with this grocery. Electronics will move with the calculator, all this will move with their respective details. So we can leave it the very way, then we sort. Because remember, we have flour, which costs 20,000, and then the selling price is 25,600. It should be the same thing. Now, after sorting, we should follow that. Flour should be having the same details. So we can sort and see. Now there you've realized that it has sorted. At the time the first product name was flour, but now here it it shows watches. And our flour now is here number around number 4. It now moves to number 4 because it has sorted this according to ascending order. It means electronics will come first because it starts with letter E, then followed by G and S. Now flour has gone with the grocery, gone with the 20,000, the selling price being 25. So from that we have already sorted our table according to category. So that is that. Then what else do we need from that? That is the only thing in D, sorting it in ascending order. So we have already sorted it in ascending order. If it was descending order, it would be the same thing. The main stationery would come first, then grocery and electronics would be down somewhere here. So that is that. Then we go to the next part, which is E. For E, they are telling us to insert all borders around your work. When you look at this, you realize this is a table and it has borders. But when you come to our work, you realize these are cells and don't have borders. Borders means that our work should be in position to have borders or lines surrounding them. These ones are not borders. These are cell borders, but not the borders that we're interested in. So they are telling us to insert all the borders into our work. So we shall of course highlight the whole work. That is the first thing we are going to do. Highlight the work. Then after highlighting the work, still under home, you come, there is this table here. When you point at it, shows bottom border, depends on what you left it in which state. Now for this one, it shows bottom border, but we are not interested in bottom borders. We are interested in all borders. So it means there are still more options in this drop down cap. We shall click on the the drop down. Then we come and look for whatever they have told us to put as our borders. If they were saying outside or outer borders, outside borders would come to this. If they are talking of thick outside borders would come to this. But for this case, they told us to apply all borders. So we shall now come to all borders here. Then we click on all borders. Now you realize there is a difference. Now the other time it was only having cell borders, but for this moment, we now have borders surrounding our work. So that is what they mean by all borders. So you realize we are done with that as well. Then now we come to part F. Part F, they are telling us to format figures to Uganda shillings with one decimal place. Now when you come to this, you realize there are some columns that will require us to put the Uganda shilling as our currency. Not all of them. I don't expect you to highlight all the watches, electronics, and you want it to appear, the Uganda currency to appear in them. No, we only apply that to a reasonable columns. That is, those are columns that are in currency form. Assuming it was even there was even something that was not currency but in numbers, we would not highlight that. So for example, if it was age or if it was the number, the quantity, I don't expect us to highlight the quantity as well when we are inserting the shillings or the currency. So we shall only highlight the figures that are in monetary form. Those are the figures or the columns. So after doing that, we now want to make it appear like it's in currency form. So what we are going to do, we shall now go and insert that. So we are inserting that. Of course, we highlight, like we said, we highlight that is shillings or monetary terms. Then we shall now come, still we are under home, we shall now come to this. Of course, from here it shows general, and when you click on that, you have so many options, including currency, but we can't come to this because this one has its own currency. Assuming it was a wrong currency, it would still be inserted in on our table, which we don't need. So we shall just come to this because when you come to this arrow facing down, this is where we shall have the liberty to set whichever currency we want. So when you click on that, it gives us this table or this dialog box. Then now we shall come and look for currency from here. Currency is here. We shall click on currency. Then after clicking on currency, it now shows us that sample because it picks the first cell and that is a sample. Then the decimal point here is 0. Remember, in our question, we are told to put the decimal point to 1, so we shall set that one straight away. Then now we come for the symbol. For the symbol, they are telling us, the question tells us that we insert it in UGX. So UGX, then maybe what we can do, we can just type letter U there so that we have the letter that, all the currencies that start with the letter U. When you type U, then now you start scrolling until you see our UGX, which is this. So we shall click on UGX there, and this is exactly how it will appear. It will show UGX, then the amount. That's what we want to see from here. So when we are done with that, selecting that, it shows you in the overview. Then we can just click on OK. When you click on OK, all these others will have that. They will also be having that. So that is basically how we insert the currency. But sometimes also, depending on the size of the cell, see like that. When you look at this, after you've done that, it will show the hashes, and some of you will get scared. There is no need of getting scared. These hashes simply mean the cell for that currency or for that amount is limited. So it means what we are going to do, we shall come on top here and try to enlarge the cells. you've enlarged, but this one still shows, so you continue enlarging so that all of them will show the amount. So that is what we are going to be doing. So now here it shows UGX, and here is our currency. So we shall now go to the next, which is telling us to insert a column before product name and label it serial number. So we need a column before the product name. Of course, the product name is here. It means now we shall add a column here, and that column we shall call it serial number column. So how do we do that? We need a column from here. Before product, there should be a column. So we can do it the very way we did, like when we're creating the row for the title. We shall do the same thing. We shall bring the cursor on top here where there is a or that letter. Then we click. When you click, it means what we have done is basically we have highlighted all that column. Then after doing that, we bring the cursor on top and then we right click. Then we shall still do the same thing. We shall come to insert here. When you click on insert, a new column will be created from here. You see? So a new column is there. Then what they are telling us that let that column title be serial number. So that is that. If other things are not coming out, you can highlight and bold still, because all others are bold. Then maybe if you want this title also to come up to here, we shall still highlight and then we merge and center again. So it merges what we want. Then they are telling, after that, of course, we can also give it their respective serial numbers. We can give the respective serial numbers. Maybe here you're starting with 1 as a serial number, 2, maybe 3. So assuming there are so many products from here, we might not type all of them as 1, 2, 3, and so on. What we are going to, we can type maybe 1 up to 2 or 3. Then we can highlight those ones we have typed. If there are 3, we highlight them. Then after doing that, we shall now drag it up to where we want it to be. So they will number themselves from that. So they have already numbered themselves. So if we want to do the same thing with the all borders, we shall do that and come to home and then come to all borders. So that is how we do that. Then now we come to part H. Part H, they are telling us to determine the average average highest and lowest selling price. So we shall come to our selling price and determine the average highest and lowest prices. So when you get back to our Excel, they are telling us to determine from this column. They are telling us to determine the average, the highest, and the lowest selling price. So whichever we can start, maybe we can come here. Then here we put average. Then we come to below the selling price there. We now want to find out, going to compute the average. Of course, we start with equal sign. Maybe we can type average. If you want to type, you can type all, which is average, which is this. Then we open the bracket. Then we now scroll. We capture all this. And then we close the bracket and we press enter. So it means the average price or selling price is 7,456. Then we go to the next. The next part of the question is asking for the highest price. So from here also we shall put highest price. The other one, remember, is average price. Average price. So we now look for the highest price. Now we shall do the same thing and we put equal sign. Then instead of using the word the highest, we can use max. Max, max representing maximum. Then we do the same thing. We scroll and then we close. So you realize there we have our highest price is 25, which is somewhere here. 25,600 is the highest price for flour. Then we go to the lowest. lowest price. Lowest price, we come down here still. Then we put equal sign. Want now to get the lowest means minimum. Minimum. Then we do the same thing. And then we close the bracket and press enter. So the minimum is this amount. Even when you use your naked eyes, you will now see that the minimum is this. So that is that. Then when now we go to the next. The next is we have gotten selling, lowest, all those. Then now we come to I. For I, they are telling us to filter out the category items called electronics and copy and paste it in a new sheet and call the sheet electronics. Filter out the category items called electronics. So we shall now come to that. So they are talking of filtering the items called electronic. So how do we filter? For us to filter, we can bring our cursor onto the title or column title, or we can just highlight everything here, whichever way. Then you still go to home. From home, we come to sort and filter here. So we shall click on that. Then remember the other time of sort, we would select from here. But for this case, we're interested in filter. So we shall click on filter here. When you click on filter, that column that we highlighted will show the filtering icon. Then after doing that, of course, we shall come to that filtering icon. And then they are telling us to sort electronic. Assuming electronics were so many, maybe there are hundreds. What we are going to do first, we'll do cancel this. Then after canceling this, we now come to only ticking electronics only. Then after doing that, we click OK. Now here, you realize we are only now seeing electronic products. Then from here, they are telling us to copy and paste. That is part I. Determine, filter out this and copy and paste it in a new sheet and call the sheet electronics. So we shall get back to this. Then they are telling us to copy and paste. Of course, we highlight, then we right click, then we copy. If they are talking of copying, you do that. Then now we open a new sheet that they are telling us to. So we now see, then we select that. Now here you realize we have gotten it, but it's so messed up. So we clean now the data. We clean the data. Now there we have, then they are telling us to rename this as electronics. Of course, we right click, then it will bring this option, then we click on rename, then we are calling it electronics. So that is our electronics. We press enter. So that is that. So we shall now go back to our main sheet, which is this. Then of course we want to get back to our normal. We shall click on this drop down. Then we make sure that we tick all, select all, so that all our things will be back. So that is that. Then we now have our next question, which is question J. Filter out items whose selling price is between 2,000 and 5,000. Paste them to a new sheet and rename it lowest products. So in between of 2,000 and 5,000. So it's also filtering, but this filtering is for a range. The other one was for a specific item or group. Well, now this one is for range. So we shall get back to our Excel, and then they are telling us to filter. That is the selling price whose prices is between 2,000 and 5,000. So that's what we shall be doing. We shall now get back to it, and then now we want to filter the selling price. Of course, now that's the selling price. Then we do the same thing. Home, come to sort and filter, then we filter. Sometimes, like now for this, we have filtered, but it has not shown. And even the other one, that the filtering that was in category has also disappeared. So if such a case happens, you still do the same thing. We get back to selling price, do that, then select filter. Now with that, you realize our filtering has now surfaced, and it has even surfaced for all the product. I mean for all the columns. Then now from here, they are telling us from 2002 or 500. So now I don't know which price you have or you have made. We shall click on that. Uh-huh. So after doing that, now we are not interested in any other filtering here because now we have this. So we shall click on this, and instead of doing that, we can now come to filter number. That's the filtering we're interested in. And for that, filtering is in between. That is between, they are telling us between 2000 and 5,000, which is here. If it was less than 2,000, would come to less than. If it was greater than, does not equal, greater than or equal, whichever statement is in the equation. But for this case, we are interested in between. So we shall click on between. Then from here, they are telling us show rows where selling price is greater than or equals to and is less than or equals to that. So when you look at the statement, you have to understand the statement very well, because from here they are telling us between 2000 and 5,000. So it means 2000 is less than 5,000 is greater. So here is greater than or equals to. It means the lowest. Greater than or equals to 2000 and is less than or equals to. Now this is a greater price from your question. I don't know whether we are getting. So from here they are telling us the price is greater than or equal. Something, it means this is a ceiling below. Greater than or equal. So it's greater than or equals to 2000, but it's less than or equals to 5,000. That's what we mean. Then after doing that, we click on our OK. Now here we have our selling prices that are in between of 2000 and 5,000. Unfortunately, we only have two prices here that are in between of 2000 and 5,000. So these are the ones. Then the question is telling us to paste them to a new sheet and rename it lowest products. So we shall now create a new sheet, and then we shall call that sheet uh, lowest products. Those are lowest products. We shall go to our main sheet, and then we shall copy this and paste it to that sheet we have just created, which is lowest products. We shall now paste it there. Lowest products. So the same thing, the cells are small, so we can resize the cells accordingly. We shall resize the cells accordingly. So that is where we are. Of course, you continue saving. Then we shall now get back to our main sheet, and we can now undo this by coming back to selling price. Then instead of having that, we now select all so that everything will appear, and we say okay. Now there we shall get back our work. Then we now go to our question, which is now okay. From here, they are telling us represent the above information on a 3D column chart showing the products and the selling price for each product. So from here, they need it in the product name against the selling price. So we shall now go back to our Excel. What they're interested in is this column against selling product. So that is what we are going to be doing. So you realize these columns are too far away from one another. There are also other columns in between of them. Now, how are we going to handle that? Now it becomes a little bit tricky in terms of highlighting, because you can't highlight these like this. It means now you're highlighting everything in between as well. But how we are going to highlight, we shall first of all highlight this, even including the column title. Then after highlighting that, we shall now take our cursor here. Of course, we have left everything. Take our cursor there, then press Control and then highlight while still pressing Control. So that is how we highlight the two. Now you realize we are highlighting only the two columns and we have left those ones in between. We are saying for you to highlight it, first highlight this column of product name. Then after highlighting that, leave everything and push the cursor to selling price. Then press Control. Then press Control and highlight while Control is still pressed. That's how you can do that. Then they are telling us to construct a 3D column chart. That's what we are interested in. So we shall now come to insert. That's where we shall find our charts. From insert, we shall now come to charts here, but we are interested in a column chart. A column chart is here. When you click on this, our column charts are here. Then there is a 3D column chart here. It's now a matter of us selecting which one from the 3D column chart fits it most. Could it be this? Could it be this? Depending if you've understood how your work is, but any can take. Maybe you're interested in this. So we can pick whichever we're interested in, depending on our question. Maybe assuming this. So we shall click on this first one. And now here is our chart. And what else do they tell? I mean, did they tell us? They are telling us to represent the above information on a 3D column chart showing the products and the selling price for each product. So here we are. So now we can do the adjustments. Maybe we want it to be somewhere down or somewhere here. We can drag it by long pressing and move. Then maybe we want to make some enlargements on our chart. So there we are. And now what else do we need? You realize we have a heading here, and the heading might not be selling price. Maybe the heading is different products sold in the shop. We want to reflect it in the same thing. Maybe different or products and their selling prices. Maybe we can say different products sold with their selling prices. So that will be our heading. Then after you can click anywhere. Then sometimes you might also be interested in having the access titles. Maybe here you want it to reflect if it's selling price. Here you want it to reflect as a product names. So we can just come somewhere. We can come to this plus sign. When you click on the plus sign, it will bring something on this depending on your space. It will bring this. Then maybe you need access titles, which is this. We can have access titles there. If you need data labels, you can click here so that every graph there will have its own price. If it's on a title grid, you can do whatever you want. So if you're interested in access titles, we can do that. Then you click. Now here we have what we are going to type here. So we can backspace this, delete this, and then type here. Of course, we know this axis reflects selling price. So here we shall have selling price. Then now you come to this, which is showing access title. We can now remove this and call it product name. Product name. So that is that. Now, assuming we are interested in having some other things here, we can enlarge it a bit, or we can just leave it then enlarge later. So we're interested in having watches. We should have its selling price there. Maybe from here we shall still come to this plus sign, and then we are interested in that. If you are interested in having them on top, that is under data labels. So we shall click on that. Now it has labeled everything there, but you realize they are so much squeezed, so that one can make us to enlarge the area of the table, of the graph. so that everything will be on its own like that. So here we have watches which is at 8,000 that, then calculators, toy phones, all these things have now their respective pricing. Assuming you don't want to see this because you already have it here, what we are going to do, we shall just click here and click again, then we remove. Now that one goes away. So that now our chart will be so free. If you want to make some designs out of it, just click on it and there are already other designs here. Whichever design you want, when you point at it, it shows, it reflects. It reflects. So you choose whichever, you click on whichever design you've admired. So with that, anything like that, maybe it's this one, you click on that. Now there we are with with our with our chart, a 3D column chart. So we can just put it anywhere we want so that we continue with our work. So there it is. Then now we get back to our work. So that is our work, and we still have more questions to answer. Now for this, our next part will be I. For I, they are telling us to center line all our work. So we shall get back, and now they are telling us to center line all. So it means we shall highlight everything here, and center line. That is it. So center line means everything should be in the middle. So you can just see how everything has been center line. If we are still interested in putting all the cells or borders here, we shall still do the same, and we shall come back so that even these downer ones we paste later will have their borders. Then we go to the next, which tells us to hide the column of category in your work. So we want to hide that column, this column of category. This is what we want to hide. So what we are going to do, we shall highlight it. Then we bring the cursor back inside to the highlighted area. Then we come to hide. Hide is here. We click on hide. Category has been hidden. How do you tell is hidden? When you see the differences here, you realize there is a space in between there. Unlike here, there is no space. So you can just tell by these spaces. So maybe if you wanted again, you can again try to right click and unhide. Or maybe for you can highlight these two, B and D, so that they can unhide the category. So that's how we do it with the hiding and unhiding. You do that, then you proceed. Okay, maybe we first hide it again, like we said. Hide is that. Then we come to hide. So that is hiding. Then we come to the next part of the question, which is telling us to insert a pie chart of product names and cost price and add labels. So this time we are constructing a pie chart, and the pie chart is the product names because we highlight up to number 8 there. Then we do the same thing. We now come to the cost price. We do the same thing, and then we still go to insert. For insert, we look for where there is a pie chart. This is a pie chart. Then we click on a pie chart. They have not told us whichever type of pie chart we can select. Maybe it's from here or still from the 3D. That is our pie chart. And then we are told to label, put the data labels. We can come to this add sign. Then we click on data labels. So that is it. So now it has its data labels. Maybe we can again drag it also somewhere. It has data labels there. And then we can change the title as well. Click here twice, remove the cost, and then maybe say products or different products with their cost price, something like that. So we have our pie chart there as well. So it means we now have our two charts there. If it's still affecting our table, we can still drag it down like that. Then we go to our next, which is Save the work. We already got done with this. Save the work in a folder named DBS Match Intake and file name, that is presentation. So we realize we are done with our work. Of course, now we shall again save it, and there we are. We are done with our work. You can comfortably now close this and check it from you want to save changes. Yeah, we want to save the changes. Then we can now go back to our folder, that is DBS Match Intake. Then we double click on it, opening. Now here we are. Double click it, still opening, and you realize our Excel workbook will open, and here we are. So it means our work is here. We successfully saved it, and you're now free to use it for whichever objective you really intended for this work. So that is basically that. Please, thank you so much for listening, and I know you've really picked the concept on how to answer the question papers in Excel, and there we are. And I wish you well, and please, if you have not subscribed, subscribe so that you'll be in position to watch multitudes of such videos. Thank you.